Well, joining me now on set is David Brudenell, the Executive Director at the AI Business Decider. David, thanks for your time. I just want to start with some of those commitments the PM's made today. I mean, how important is that from a business perspective to actually start getting some concrete things agreed from the government?
Yeah, I think it's a great start, first of all, but it's only a partial start. You know, the Australian government has been really good at looking through the world through a resources lens, and we're seeing the AI policy from resources up. Energy resiliency, hydro resiliency, those are important things, but those are only part of the sovereignty issue that's available to AI today. You know, when you think about sovereignty, you know, I think that Australia is today building a three-legged stool. You have sovereignty as policy sovereignty, you have energy sovereignty, and you have compute sovereignty. But what you really need is a four-legged stool, which is far more supportive, which is model sovereignty. And that's the thing that the policy or the AI office hasn't addressed yet, which is arguably the most important thing. And I think that what the Prime Minister is talking about in terms of capturing the value of artists and writers and songwriters is very important. But it's something that is very difficult to price today because AI is not like Spotify. And how an artist or how a book is used in a model, it can be used to teach students. It can be used to help a court decide. It can be used to help businesses. And these are things that this new technology hasn't really unearthed yet, which is something that we probably should wait a little bit before we start to really lean heavily into it and start to regulate it.
Yeah, from a news organisation perspective, we're obviously happy that he's made a commitment for copyright, but it seems like it has been very difficult to police in other parts of the world.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think that the models have grown by slurping in the entire internet, sometimes without permission. And now retroactively, deals are being done with Reddit, and the New York Times are suing OpenAI for copyright. These are all really important things, but this work has already been done. What we're talking about now is the new work, the new knowledge that people are creating, that professionals like you and Sky News and artists are now putting out into the world. And differently from the past, where it's what you did, it's more important now how you do the thing. And that's really the sovereignty that's at play right now. And that becomes incredibly difficult to price, but also partially difficult to capture because we don't know what this content is going to be used for, like I said before. So I think the AI office is a great first step, but I think we have to be careful on how we start to put boundaries around this new technology. I mean, there was a thing called an elevator operator back in the day. And it seems a bit silly today to have an elevator operator, but that's kind of what we're talking about when we start putting boundaries within this new technology. We don't really know how it's used just yet for.
Yeah, you talk about one leg of the stool being energy security. There's been a lot of stories about data centres using a lot of water and power. Yeah. Do you think these new laws could push up costs for data centre operators and then be pushed back onto Australian consumers that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's two things at play. So number one is when you start to regulate the price of electricity or the price of hydro, yes, absolutely. I mean, these venture companies are incredibly subsidized. So the cost of a token that we pay for today is deeply, deeply subsidized. So expect to see what happened with Uber 12 years ago. It used to be very cheap to be able to get a ride from here to there, but now it's much more expensive. And so as these companies start to list on the stock market, they are going to be passing through the costs to users today. And these venture-backed companies are doing the same productivity play that they did for Google, that they did for Facebook, they did for all these things. We're trading what is perceived productivity for our critical knowledge and judgment, and we're giving it to these businesses who are essentially capturing it, productizing it, and renting it back to us. So absolutely, I fully expect these companies, especially as they're publicly listed in the near future, to pass those costs back to consumers.
And look, the laws aren't going to come in at least till next year. So there's obviously going to be some sort of feedback phase now with industry. I mean, what are you going to be hoping to put forward?
Well, I think from our perspective, I mean, we're the only pure play agentic software company on the ASX. We do sovereign operational AI in our business. So we're very much focused on making sure that we're protecting Australian knowledge, because knowledge is going to be an economic asset in the future, where we can, as a sovereign state, Australia's in this wonderful place from a geographic perspective and a geopolitical perspective that other countries want our knowledge and will gladly pay for it. So we at Decider, what we'll be talking about and what we'll be proposing is really much more work in this issue of sovereignty. When businesses like OpenAI and Anthropic, when they say we're going to build data centers in Australia, that is not sovereignty. Geography is not sovereignty. Australia needs to build its own models, because these models that we all use, they are fundamentally built by private American companies and have American values in them. And it is the scientifically proven that when you train a model on Australian values, it's a very thin layer that sits on top of it.